Initially, I saw Hyperlight Drifter as a good but unremarkable action RPG. From the start, the game gives you a gentleman's kit of its genre. You have your dash, your triple melee combo, and your pistol. But you can't shoot infinitely. In order to recharge your ranged weapon, you have to slash enemies with your sword. This forces the player to play aggressively and to utilize both damage sources equally. Besides, most of the enemies only has melee attacks with clear and fair telegraph. The gameplay is simple but quite dynamic. It would seem that we have a basic but robust gameplay loop. Enter a new room, clear it from the enemies, and then proceed further. However, the majority of new players face a problem here. The game loves secrets. They can contain story items, keys for secret doors, lore, new suits with additional perks, Hello Hotline Miami, and local currency that can be spent on the character's upgrades. If you don't pay attention to secrets, you will unlock less than half of available upgrades and walk through the game with a nearly starting kit. It's not like you can finish the game with it, but you are not going to see all the features that the game offers. Some of the secrets are hidden quite cleverly, or were placed with apparent hints, but the others require literal pixel hunting. Such secrets require some time to find. Too much time kills pacing. The player is given all the instruments to blaze from one room to another. The game's title has Hyperlight after all, and once in a while you have to stop and hug the walls. Don't get me wrong, the abundance of secrets is characteristic for a lot of games, and this is great. Sometimes the developers get so carried away with Easter eggs that search for secrets branches into a separate game, where you can spend dozens of hours. But it goes in parallel with the main gameplay. In games with great level and game design, secrets help in walking through the level, but are not mandatory to find, contrary to Hyperlight Drifter, where you won't see all the content without searching for the pixels. Such thoughts had been visiting me during my playthrough of the first half of the game. After 4 hours, I still couldn't find something that could calm down a stubborn perfectionist inside me. But exactly at this moment, starting from the second half of the game, I noticed something. Literally 36 pixels big. Something that changes everything I have been saying for the last few minutes. Every secret in the game is marked with tiny, barely visible icon. See it? Go there. Figure out what you should do. Get a secret. It doesn't strike the eye. It's not mentioned in the tutorial at all, but it's always there. Okay, usually there. When you know what exactly you should search for, the time required for it decreases significantly. From this point, the gameplay loop glows up. Enter a new room, clear it from the enemies, take a quick look on the screen, find the secret, and then proceed further. Passing through, hold up, look around, find the secret, proceed further. Such approach keeps the tempo, maintains the player's focus, doesn't pull him out of the flow. It motivates, makes the player to not just search for the icon, but also to pay attention to the details of the game's beautiful world, such as drowned bodies, skin bodies, dried out bodies, big bodies. Basically, the game clearly tries to tell you that this world is fucked. I'm going to sound like the authors of those clickbait videos, but the tiniest 6x6 pixels big icon salvaged my opinion on the game. It managed to address my only serious complaint, turning a not bad, okay action RPG into a well-thought action RPG. And with that, the gameplay has also changed for the good. Starting from the second half of the game, the player unlocks most of his arsenal, receiving a wide range of tools for a rich combat system. However, he doesn't need a grand piano to utilize all the moves. Most of the moveset can be done just by pressing dash and strike buttons in different sequences. Sometimes you do a combo without even realizing it. Among the upgrades, there is perhaps the most unique dash system I have ever seen in games. After buying the corresponding upgrade, you are given the ability to press dash at much faster rate and speed up to hyperlight velocities. The game's title has hyperlight after all, allowing to zoom from place to place in mere seconds. But in order to do so, you have to press the dash button in a specific rhythm. You can't just spam it. Lost to tempo, then the character stops, or fully upgraded character feels like a freaking ninja, and it makes the process of wrecking hordes of enemies incredibly satisfying. From that moment, starting from the second half of the game, I sat at my PC and finished it entirely, in one sitting, without a break. And if you think that you got the full picture of this game, trust me, you are just on the edge of this rabbit hole. To truly understand Hyper Light Drifter, you should know the story of a man that stands behind the game. His name is Alx Preston. In 2013, he began raising money on Kickstarter for the game development, which brought Preston over $500,000. With these funds, Alx managed to assemble a small team of developers and started to actively work on the game. Initially, the game release was planned in 2014, but it had to be delayed until 2016, and only partially due to the enhanced scope of the game. Alx Preston suffers from a congenital heart disease, a condition when the organ forms with critical defects in its structure that doesn't allow it to fully perform its functions. Alx had open heart surgery when he was 1 year old. He has a pacemaker inside his body, and in 2015, right during Hyper Light Drifter development, Preston went to hospital to install a new heart valve.
Is there sort of a risk element there that other people don't have to deal with?
Oh yeah, I could drop dead at any moment.
The condition of Alx Preston is the key to understanding actually everything related to Hyper Light Drifter, starting with the name of the developer's team, Heart Machine. Many elements of the game's world and gameplay work in a specific rhythm. The main character of the game suffers from an incurable disease and occasionally coughs blood. For example, hypoplastic left heart syndrome is a condition when heart is unable to pump enough amount of blood from lungs to tissues and organs. In this case, fluid can go anywhere but to alveoli of lungs, which can manifest in coughing up blood. And oxygen deficiency results in bluish skin color. I can suggest a diagnosis of a real person judging by the symptoms of a computer game character. The game's style constantly shifts from one extreme to another. Cute anthropomorphic animals can lose their lives in the most brutal ways possible at any moment. Here you should understand that most of the kids with congenital heart disease spend their childhood in a children's hospital. And what can you see there? Cheerful pictures with some goofy cartoonish characters? Plush toys on the beds of terminally ill kids. Alx was in the company of severely ill children just like him, who could pass away at any moment. Preston, like the main character of his game, is being surrounded by death since he was born. This is why the game has overall pessimistic tone, making it really similar to Evangelion. Both Alx Preston and Hideaki Anno worked while being in a state of horrible depression. This is reflected even in the game credits, where under Alex's name you can find the line "Husk of a Human." This is also the reason why the game has a nearly perfect execution of show, don't tell rule. The only English words that you can find in the game are in its main menu. That's all. UI, character screen, upgrades menu doesn't have a single line of text. The characters tell stories by pictures. Instead of hoary and overused by modern games text logs, the game tells you about its past events via surroundings and scenery. Just like a colorfully illustrated book for kids.
They had to wait until I was about a year old to do any surgery, and so the story I'm told is that my mother had to prevent me from crying for a whole year at risk of me dying, because my heart wouldn't be able to take the stress of that.
And I am almost certain that the world and story of Hyper Light Drifter was based on the childhood of the developer. Congenital heart disease of lead developer is the missing part of the puzzle that is Hyper Light Drifter. When you learn about Alex's condition, your mind by itself starts to connect the dots between the different aspects of the game. It aged like a fine wine for several decades on my very eyes, in matter of 10 hours of gameplay, while simultaneously bringing tons of food for thought and a roller coaster of emotions. Show this game to an experienced cardiac surgeon, and I am sure he will see even more than an experienced medical laboratory scientist. This game, no, a piece of art, can be created only once, in a specific moment of time, and in a specific state of the soul. In the end, Hyper Light Drifter turned from a well-thought action RPG into a personal, intimate even metaphor of a person's life with an incurable disease, who continues to live and achieve his goals, despite his physical and mental health. Value the time that is given to you. Do what you truly love. The future will come. Good one or a bad one. Thank you for watching.